I need a gun. This is a Ruger Vaquero. You got the wooden handles, Ruger emblem. Only a few thousand of these ever made. This here is the customized P320. Probably more accurate than your standard. Had the grips replaced with a Wilson Combat grip. Had great success with its last owner. Ooh. And this is the best help a man can get. Here we got your Springfield 1911. Just meat and potatoes. Your granddad would probably say this is the best handgun in the world. We've offered $600 for this guy. You want to try it out? So you just bought a gun. So more specifically, you just bought a handgun. And you're like, now what? So I've had a couple friends ask me this question, and I thought I'd just come on here, give my 2 cents, and help people who had the questions I had when I first bought my handgun. So you just bought your new handgun, and you're super excited. What do you do now? Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, your money spending does not end there. Unfortunately, you do need the gear to accommodate it. So for starters, 2 pieces I like to put together because they kind of need to be together. That's lights and holsters. Why do I have these 2 together? Well, you need one for the other. Have a light and a holster that can accommodate both the gun and the light together. So what holsters do you use? Well, that depends on what you're looking for. You have your EDC holsters, you have your duty holsters, you have your inside the waistband holsters, you have your outside the waistband holsters. So that really depends on what your mission set is. Inside the waistband holsters offer great concealment, but people have commented on how uncomfortable they can be depending on how you are wearing it. To show that. Outside the waistband holsters offer more comfortability, arguably, but they are harder to conceal. Your duty holsters are going to be always outside the waistband. However, as a side note, I recommend waiting on these guys until you are fully invested in this is the kind of culture you want to be in, because these guys can get a little pricey. Holster materials I recommend going for is either Kydex or injection molded. Leather is an option. However, I always kind of go against leather because they do tend to warp after extended periods of use, and after a while they don't handle up to weather conditions as well. And I do not recommend free carrying it in your waistband wearing sweatpants or basketball shorts like some thug in LA. Next, and also the same section as holsters, the next thing you want to get is a light for your gun. It's very hard to shoot what you cannot identify. If you have a light bearing holster, I do not recommend carrying a gun without the holster in it. It is unsafe. If you want more information on what good lights to purchase for your handgun, I recommend going to Works YouTube page. They do have a lot of information and material to help you make a decision on what light you want to use. But what if you inherited your grandpa's old 1911 or old gun that doesn't have a rail under the barrel? That's okay, we all got to start somewhere. I recommend using a handheld, and I also want to refer back to Works Holsters YouTube. They do have a lot of information on good handhelds as well. Up next, ammo. And notice I didn't put this one first because it's very unsafe to carry a gun without a good holster. You just have your gun there without something protecting the trigger guard so you don't, 8 Mile yourself.
Okay, all right.
You need ammo to get good with your firearm. Just because you have a firearm does not make you a good shooter. Any idiot can pull a trigger. Hate to break it to you. It should be common sense, but I thought it'd be something worth mentioning. Make sure you know exactly what your gun shoots and don't shoot the wrong ammunition in your gun. Next, I recommend buying mags. It sucks after a long, hard training day going back to the table, reloading the same mag over and over again. It's also bad for the mag because you wear out the springs every time it gets compressed. And these are mags, not clips. What if you got a revolver and it doesn't take a mag? Well, first off, I want to say, howdy. Do you make speed loaders for revolvers? I do have these speed loaders, which for that specific revolver is still kind of hard. But with practice, with training, you can get efficient reloading with something like this, even in a single action revolver like that. But really, for a first gun, I highly recommend getting something mag fed. But once again, we all got to start somewhere. Some people don't have money to just drop. Some are inherited. Some don't even know what they're doing. And that's completely fine. But whatever you have, make sure you get training with it and get efficient with it. Hey guys, this is me back home editing. I wanted to mention something that I forgot to say earlier. So, you guys notice this guy, what some people would call a Gucci'd out SIG. But I want to mention that it didn't always look like this. So before you saw that firearm, it started its life like this. Didn't have any red dots or any aftermarket grip. It was just your basic stock Sig Sauer P320. The only thing I got pretty much right away was the light. But I got proficient with this guy before I started doing any fancy things, and that'd be my biggest recommendation for you. Can you do all that? Sure, it's your money, but I mean, if you really want to value your money, your time, I recommend, just start off with this. Don't feel all intimidated with all these fancy stuff you see on Instagram or YouTube. Just start off with something stock, get good with it, and then if you want and or feel like you want some of the fancy gadgets, go for it. Back to the video. But what if you don't have a gun, but you're looking to buy a gun? You want a gun that's reliable, has a good track record behind it, and has a lot of aftermarket support for it, in my opinion. Some good brands are SIG, Glock, and Smith & Wesson. Those would be great ones right off the top to start off with. Typically, a good price range you want to start at is anything around $500. It could be a little less, could be a little bit more. It's subject to change depending on inflation, depending on the year, depending on political atmosphere. There are variables right there, but in my opinion, from what I've seen, $500 is a good mid-section to pay for a firearm. The only exception I have found for that $500 price point is the PSA Palmetto State Armory Dagger. It is a Glock clone, and it tends to be around $300 depending on the day, depending on whatever sale they're having. Is it the greatest, best handgun ever? No, but it does seem to do the job pretty reliably. I also recommend sticking with calibers that are commonly found, such as 9mm. I'm a big 9mm guy, and you can go 40, you can go 45, because those would be the second most common use rounds. But I'd recommend for your first gun to stay away from things like 357 SIG, because when an ammo scare like we had back in 2020 happens, it's going to be very hard to find those rounds. I personally recommend going towards a 9 because for new time shooters it has less recoil and it's a lot easier to control than a 45. But all this to say, this is just my personal advice. It comes from all the experience I've had shooting firearms myself, and I wanted to share that information for new shooters like yourself. But at the same time, I'm just a guy on your screen. Take my opinion for what it's worth. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this helps somebody out there. Merry Christmas. So you guys are still here. Well, before I let you guys go, it is the holiday season, and be thankful. Like I said, we're in the holiday season. It's Christmas time. New Year's is also right around the corner. Just be thankful for what you have. Enjoy your family. And really show them how much you love them. And for my pessimist people out there that say, oh, nobody cares about me, I promise there's someone out there that loves you. Even if you don't think so, there is definitely somebody out there who loves you. Christ, for one, loves you more than you can imagine. Comment below if you got the movie reference I made in the beginning of the video. Thank you guys. If you liked the video, like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.